They didn't hear me? Would those people standing in the back of the hall kindly take a seat so we can take a count? Can you hear me? Start with that. I hope. I don't see him. I mean, I don't want to start yelling all night if he's not here. His cooler's here. Okay, kindly take a seat, those standing in the back. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me? Is Mr. O'Toole here? Where are you? Can you hear me now? Okay. Can we have our tellers up front? We'll take a count. We need 200 registered voters for this meeting. We'll see how we're doing. Yeah, well said. Ladies and gentlemen, there's 216 registered voters in the hall. We have a quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, your stage members for tonight's meeting are as follows. On your far right, the Selectman Phil Bazidlo, Mark Elworthy, Dino Zapantis, Stephen Mendoza, Chairman Mark Akabuchi, Town Administrator Michael Ward, Town Attorney Dennis Sargent. On your far side, Clerk Stenographer is Julie Kilbride. I'm John Hogan. I'll be your moderator this evening. Oh, the warrants. Yeah. All speakers must be recognized by the moderator before speaking. All questions, comments, or discussion should be directed to the moderator. I will redirect that to the appropriate person for a response. Please state your name and address before speaking. Please no personalities in your remarks, and try to keep your comments to the article under discussion. All proposed amendments should be presented to me in writing. The only people in the hall now should be registered voters in the town of Clinton or people who have been given prior permission by myself to observe the proceedings. The only hands that will be counted during hand votes are from people who are seated in the hall. Standees will not be counted, so I encourage all standees to take a seat before the first vote. Unless I hear an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the warrant, as you should have copies of you in front of you any moment. Wait till they give it out. All we got, they're all up. Oh, he got some too. All right. Is there anyone who does not have a warrant? Please raise your hand. Anyone without a warrant? All right, I think all of you have warrants at this time. We'll dispense with the reading of the warrant. Get on with Article 1. Mr. Akabuchi.
Article 1, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to rescind acceptance of Chapter 48, Section 42 of the General Laws as amended, said section relating to the establishment of fire department to be under control of an officer to be known as the chief of the fire department.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 1 have been made and seconded. I think a little explanation may be required here to try and explain this so that you have an understanding of what's before you. The fire chief in Clinton presently is under the designation known as a strong chief, and he's the only person in town with that designation. Inasmuch he has total control of the fire department, hiring, rules, regulations, discipline, everything within his department is totally under his control. Article number 1 would remove the Strong's chief designation from his title. Article number 2 would transfer that to the Board of Selectmen. Okay, if you choose to vote for Article 1, The differences from what now exists is that the Board of Selectmen would be involved in policy, rules, and regulations for the fire department. The day-to-day operation of the department and all fire and ambulance decisions would continue to be made by the fire chief alone. Also, the hiring of firefighters, which is presently totally under the jurisdiction of the fire chief, would transfer, and the selectmen would be the appointing authority, with the fire chief making recommendations to the Board of Selectmen for hires. This strong chief designation should not be confused with civil service protections which the fire chief now enjoys. This article would have no bearing on the chief's civil service protection, which the present fire chief will always have. If you approve this article, the fire chief would then be running his department in the same manner as the police chief runs his, and the superintendent of public works runs the Department of Public Works. This is to be that the authority of the day-to-day operation of their employees, but still they would report to the selectmen on rules and policy issues. Now, I know there's different aspects of this, and I've tried to explain it as best I can. I hope you understand it. We will open this up for discussion now, and then we can kind of go from there. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. Mr. Akabuchi.
Mark Yakabuchi, 29 Lane Ave, currently Board of Selectmen. I want people to understand that this is about policy. It's not about personalities, what might have been said, what's in the paper, okay? There's a lot of that seems to be going around town. I want people to understand that the board wants to take an active role and to participate with the hiring and termination and promotions with the fire department. Not only what we're looking to do is have a better working relationship with the fire department. I've been on this board with myself, Dino Zapantis. We've been here, we're going on 6 years, and I can honestly say that it hasn't been getting much better with trying to enforce, trying to work out things with the chief, with policy. I couldn't, if it was better, we wouldn't be here tonight. I think we're looking for a better solution. And if this does get approved tonight to rescind this, this Chapter 48, Strong Chiefs Law, basically what's going to happen is it's just the town is going to be operating just like we do now with the police chief and the DPW superintendent, which I think we have a good track record working with the DPW superintendent and the police chief. Anyone following that knows what I'm talking about, that we take the police chief's recommendations, anything he has to say, as well as the DPW superintendent, and I think we work well with them. So that's what it's going to do. It's just going to go back to that. The Board of Selectmen will have a more active role and be able to better manage more effectively. Basically, I'm here asking for your support for Article 1 tonight to give us, the Board, a better chance to serve the town of Clinton. And one thing that I just don't want to leave out, too, that I think is very important, everyone has to answer to somebody. Whether it's the Board of Selectmen or the President of the United States. Board of Selectmen, we have to answer to the people. Everyone should answer to somebody. Currently, right now, under the Strong Chief provision, he doesn't have to answer to anybody. And I don't think that's right, especially not in a small town of 14,000 people. So I ask for your support tonight on Article number 1. Thank you.
Sir. Okay. Nib, can we raise that up a little bit? I sense that there's...
You speak right into this mic, you hear very well. If you want to get up to the podium and not say nothing, we'll go ahead and do that. Speak right into the microphone. It works fine. You turn that volume up and you're going to hear squeak. Speak into the mic.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. We will. Okay, the recommendation is when you're speaking, speak close into the microphone, and hopefully that will. Can you hear me now? Yeah, they still can't even hear me. Yeah, tweak it a little bit. Just if it squeaks, we'll put it back. I have a sense they can't hear me very well either.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me now? All right, we'll try it this way and hope it doesn't squeak. Still in a discussion under Article 1. In the back, sir.
My name is Joe Grealis. I live at 25 Ash Street, and I respectfully disagree with Mr. Iacobacci. The fire department is a safety department, like the police department. And the last thing I want to see is the hands of the select board getting into that department pie. I see no reason why this article needs to be passed. For a perfect example, the Woodlands a couple weeks ago, we could have had a serious situation up there after the project was done if Mr. Hart didn't step in and do the right thing. He is a trained professional. He understands firefighting. The selectmen do not.
Still under discussion under Article 1. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Dolores Farragher. Can you hear me? And I feel the exact same way. I think the fire department ought to stay with the fire department and not in the hands of the selectmen. Thank you.
Hear me all right? Mr. Moderator, excuse me, but listening to what came out of the board, I keep hearing Judy Collins singing, "Bring in the Clowns." Ladies and gentlemen, we have a fire chief who's a professional, who has run a good fire department, who has not knuckled under to special interests like some people in our government has, and who has helped to keep this town safe. Personally, 8 years ago, I had a fire in my house. They came in professional, put the fire out, did minimal damage, and I would rather see him sitting there directing the fire department than these guys who can't even fix the streets. Thank you.
My name is Thomas Moore, 298 Main Street, Clinton. I'm a former fire chief in the town of Clinton. It was I who witnessed what the selectmen could do if they took over as fire commissioners, and that's about what they wanted to do. In 1968, they disagreed with me, and they appointed 4 fire engineers who come in and knew nothing whatsoever about firefighting. And we won that, Chapter 48, Strong Chiefs Law, overwhelmingly that night. And I am here to tell you that we should vote against this article. If the selectmen have something against Mr. Hart, they should realize that they can, under Chapter 48, request a report from him. He could even make it daily if they wanted to, because this has happened before. And as far as I'm concerned, this would be a bad thing to happen for the town of Clinton. Thank you.
Still under discussion under Article 1. Sir.
Peter Taylor, 45 Robert Street. There seems to be some emotion going on here. But to my understanding, in 1968, the fire department, the town voters voted for a strong chief law. And they might have had really good reason to do so back then. But now, to me, it seems very ironic that all the other departments respond to the selectmen. The police chief has to, the Department of Public Works, etc. So why is the exception for the strong chief law for the fire department? So I believe it should all be put in line where the selectmen have some authority on all the different departments. Thank you.
Still under discussion, sir.
Anthony Carboni, 260 Sterling Street. These two articles, particularly Article 1, was placed on the warrant after years of chest puffing and personality clashes, and public safety, our public safety, should not be subject to these foolhardy motivations of the selectmen wanting to run the fire department. I make a motion that we move the article, Mr. Moderator.
I'll take your motion. He was up next. I'll take your motion after that.
Okay, Mr. Elworthy.
Name's Mark Elworthy, 62 Highland Street. I'm also a member of the Board of Selectmen, and I welcome all of the insults that comes with the territory, although some may not be deserved. We do not question Chief Hart's ability to fight fires, his dedication to fighting fires, and the public safety of this town. No one on that Board of Selectmen questions his intelligence, his capabilities, as it comes in regards to fighting fires. The Board of Selectmen will not be on the scenes of fires discussing how to handle a fire. That's the fire chief's job. There's some confusion in the room about what this is all about. Today, there are so many things that the group of people in front of us and the rest of the town do not see that we have to address as a Board of Selectmen with this particular chief and the role of a strong chief. And the issues that we're faced with are day-to-day operations and policies that impact you, your tax dollars. Nothing the chief does from a fire safety and public safety standpoint do I question. But the management of the department, the financial management and the personnel management of that department cost you tax dollars, thousands and thousands of tax dollars at some point in time. We ask for requests for meetings, and there's bingo hall that has to be called, and it doesn't show up. We've had issues as a Board of Selectmen with managing and working with our fire chief. So it's not an issue of just public safety. It's your tax dollars that we're trying to look out for and work in conjunction with. We don't run the police department. Our police chief runs the police department. And the DPW superintendent runs the Public Works department. What we do is we sit every 2 weeks or during budget season on a weekly basis, and we discuss and we review the financial situations of these departments. So I don't understand the concern that we're going to all of a sudden get our hands in the fire department. Well, our hands aren't in the police department, our hands aren't in the Public Works department. The hiring of positions fall under civil service exams, so you have to look at the top candidates. There's no politicalness to hiring a civil servant. It's the job testing, and to all due respect, the chief has done a good job in hiring, in my opinion. But it comes to the management of the department, the bill paying of the department, this fire truck that we're voting on tonight, and the speediness that we had to act upon it. We had a single line email that said, we need a fire truck right away. That's public safety too. You can insult the 5 people that volunteer to work for the town of Clinton for $100 a month all you want. But the bottom line is we're trying to do a good job for all of you people. If you don't like us, vote us out, please. But at least respect the fact that we have to deal with issues that you don't all see all the time. Sometimes they have to be an executive session because they come in regards to the professionalism of a person or an employee. But trust me, there are things that go on that we have to try and resolve. $100 bill for a particular employee doesn't get paid. His credit starts to get damaged, all because of a lack of management and administration in that department. So it's not about his fire safety capability. He can do that, and he does it very, very well, and I compliment him on that. But how that department is run is a whole other story. And the Board of Selectmen will not be directing how we address a fire or the public safety of how we address a fire. That's not the role. That's not what this is all about. It's about policies. It's about procedure. It's about management of a budget and management of a department. So I thank you, and I apologize if I've offended anybody.
Do you still want your motion? Do you still want your motion to move the question?
I want to defer my motion until we hear from you.
Well, you're withdrawing the motion then, sir? Okay. Sir.
Richard Hart, 16 Belmont Ave. I'm the fire chief in question. I've been doing this job for 14 and a half years. If I've missed 3 selectmen's meetings, that was a lot. When they call me, I'm normally there. An hour's notice, I'll go to the selectmen's meetings. I've been to them with less notice. I do not avoid confronting them when I need to. This whole matter came up over a code issue, which whether we have a strong chief or a weak chief isn't going to change. I've still got to enforce the codes. It's my understanding from the 2 members of the Board of Selectmen that just spoke earlier. Under the strong chief, it says specifically, he shall have charge of extinguishing fires in town and the protection of life and property in case of fire. That wording is not in Section 42A, the weak chief. So it's my understanding that authority goes back to the selectmen. They've agreed on the last 5 candidates we've hired. We've hired some great young men. Came into the department as EMTs, saving you thousands of dollars. Those last 5 EMTs are not politically connected in any way to anybody. They were on the list. They're the best candidates out of those that were eligible, and they were appointed. And I'm proud of every one of them. I'm sure they're going to serve the town of Clinton well for many years, unlike Mr. Fitch and Mr. Jensen.
Chief, no personalities, please. No personalities.
We go from the appointing and in charge of extinguishing and preventing fires in town, comes down to the purchase of apparatus. Under the strong chief, the fire chief purchases the apparatus, purchases and maintains. Under the weak chief, there's no mention of purchasing or maintaining. I take that back. I believe there's something on maintaining. But the purchasing of the equipment we need will be in the hands of the Board of Selectmen. I strongly urge you to defeat Article 1 in the best interest of you, the taxpayers.
Mark Iacobucci, 29 Lane Ave. Can everyone hear me? Good. Chief just talked about specific code violations, what brought this all on. That's what, I guess where the chief's coming from, he wants you to think that that's what it's about. It's not. We have a lengthy record, like I said earlier. I've been here 6 years now, going on 6 years, and this is something that's been going on and on and on. And if you don't take my word for it, just look at the minutes. Look at the minutes. It's all public record. They're there, okay? If it's not in public session, they were in executive session. So the chief knows what we're talking about here, okay? It's the way he manages his department down there. That's why we're here tonight. We want to change the policy so we can better serve the town. Thank you.
Any further discussion under Article 1? Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. James Doherty, Chase Street. I have no experience in municipal evaluation, but it seems to me that the Board of Selectmen is required to hire and supervise the fire chief. And the gentleman, you are clearly unhappy with his performance. My question is, how is he supervised? Does he have a contract? And is the contract, has it been renewed if his performance has been unsatisfactory? Thank you.
Just in answer to that, the chief is under civil service. There are specific provisions and procedures in order to take any type of disciplinary action against an employee that's covered by that. There's just cause provisions and a procedure that you have to go through. So.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 1?
Mr. Moderator.
Okay, I think.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that we move this article and we have a ballot vote.
Okay, motion's been made to make Article 1 a ballot vote, secret ballot vote. You're all familiar with the procedure of coming up and placing a ballot in there. If you vote yes on this, is there a second to that motion? Second, first of all. Second. If you vote yes to this, we will have a ballot vote. If you vote no to it, we will vote by hand. There'll be no further discussion on that. All in favor of a ballot vote indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Motion is defeated. We'll vote by hand. I don't see any other discussion at this point, so I think at this time we can call for a vote. If you vote yes, you will be removing the strong chief status from the fire chief's position. If you vote no, it will remain as a strong chief designation. All in favor of Article 1 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is defeated.
Mr. Moderator, I move to table Article 2. Moderator, second that motion.
Okay. Article number 2, the Selectmen have made a motion to table Article 2. It runs in conjunction with Article 1. Now that you have defeated Article 1, it more or less becomes a moot issue. We will vote on that at this time. All in favor of tabling Article 2 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Article 2 is tabled. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $90,000, said sum to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for Phase 1 feasibility study and Phase 2 design and engineering services to renovate the former Parkhurst School for use of it as a senior center.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Article number 3 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $90,000 to do a feasibility study on having a senior citizen center at the former Parkhurst School down by Fuller Field. This article was approved by your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Richard Zatola from 287 Chestnut Street. I have a question. I realize this may be a bit of a technicality, but it says to borrow or take from available funds the sum of $90,000 or any other sum. I'm concerned that that could mean $9 million or $900 million.
When the article was,
and I would
I'll explain
suggest
that.
an amendment that it be 90,000 or any other lesser sum.
All right, wait a minute. Okay, you've asked me two questions here. Let me deal with the first. Okay. The first is when the selectmen have to put these articles on the advertise them, they're not quite sure at that time whether it's going to be raise and appropriate, borrow. Then when they announce it on the stage at the meeting, they announce what it would be based on the Finance Committee recommendations. In this case, it happens to be raise and appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So this article is a raise and appropriate article.
Okay.
Okay. And the dollar amount is specified.
My concern is,
90,000. That's the maximum it can be. It can obviously be less.
then, is it not appropriate then to say, or any other lesser sum? So that $90,000 in this case
I
is the
think you
maximum.
could do it, but I don't think you need to. I think it's designated that they can spend up to 90 and no more.
Okay, so that is, the lesser is implied.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 3? Sir.
John Kittredge, 249 Chase Street, Chairman of the Finance Committee. I just want to add that the Finance Committee unanimously supports this article and unanimously supports our seniors. This amount of money is going to start with a feasibility study to see if that property can accommodate. From there, design and bid specifications would have to be put out. And this could open up substantial, in the neighborhood of $600,000 in grant money available to the town to refurbish the building. So we support the article, and we've got to spend some money to get to the point where we can get the grant money. So I welcome your support.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 3? I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Agabuchi.
Mark Iacobucci, 29 Lane Ave. Just a comment on what the chairman of the Finance Committee said. The Board of Selectmen support this Article 3. We feel it's a good return on our money if we hopefully obviously can get that $600,000 to $700,000 of grant money. We feel that $90,000 is a good price to pay to get that money. The rest of the money, $600,000 or $700,000 down the road. We have to do something to look at that site. And this is the best way to go about doing it. The seniors obviously expressed interest in it, and they think it's be a good place for a senior center. So obviously the board supports this article. Thank you.
Any further discussion under the article? Sir.
Mark Furno, 395 Chestnut. This building's not in real great shape, and I'm just wondering if we're not throwing good money after bad. Maybe we should just raise it and use that property for something else, or erect a new building? What's the advantage of throwing all this money into the Parkhurst building, as opposed to, say, putting the people that clean the park, whichever department that is, that we're looking for a garage and everything. We talked about maybe putting a garage there or something. So I guess I'd like to hear why people feel like this is a building we should be investing in at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Law?
Mr. Moderator, Don Lowe, 17 Hughes Street. I'm the Director of Community and Economic Development. Just to answer a couple of questions. First of all, I'd just like to make sure everyone understands this is not just to do a feasibility study. It is to do a feasibility study and go through a process that would come up with all the design documents, all the bid documents that would be necessary to take a project out to bid if we were to construct a senior center. The proposal would be to pursue community development block grant funds. The number that I've been having people work with, excuse me, as an estimate is approximately $500,000. I was at a public hearing in Boston on Thursday to review the current plan, and just to clarify for folks, there are two different levels of communities that can go after these block grants, and without getting into any technical jargon, there are needy communities and then very needy communities. CDF2 communities are what's known as needy communities. CDF1, you're more needy.
If you're not as needy, the cap for these types of funds is $600,000. Clinton falls in the CDF1 category, which the cap for the entire grant application would be $800,000. And when you take out the administrative costs of running my office, the payment of my salary except for the dollar that the town pays, you would take about 15% out of that. So in round numbers, we would have about $700,000 to work with to be able to hopefully get the building up to code and have it functional as a senior center. To answer the previous gentleman's question, why not raise the building? That's not an issue that I will get into as far as the merits of whether it should be renovated or whether it should be demolished. What I can tell you is if you hope to pursue grant money, this type of grant money, any project going for this grant must meet one or more of the governor's 10 principles of sustainable development. Principle number 1 is reuse. If we were to demolish that building and propose to build new, I guarantee you that we would score very badly on any grant application. The Commonwealth wants to see us reusing municipal buildings. So I'm not going to debate whether or not that's the best building. That's for the Council on Aging to say whether or not that building really meets their needs. But if you're looking at that site, if a demolition proposal went forward, we would not have a very good chance at all of securing any grant money. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Julie Eli, 100 Beacon Street. I would like to know from Mr. Lowe, would the grant money also be for an extension?
Julie, speak into the microphone.
Would that money also be for an extension onto that building? Because as far as I know, there's only 4 rooms down there. Anybody who uses the senior center would know 4 rooms is not going to be enough. You need 4 or 5 different offices. You will need an elevator. You will need a kitchen. By the time you finish with elevators and handicap bathrooms, we will have a state-of-the-art closet to walk into.
Mr. Moderator, I'm not qualified to design a closet, but I think I can answer the question. And again, bear in mind, what's been done so far is walking through with an engineer who's done pro bono work from a very reputable firm and has gone back and consulted with the staff of architects. As far as the code goes, as far as ADA or any other code, the building needs to be completely brought up to code, basically because more than 30% of the assessed value of the building would need to be spent on it to bring it up. So it's all code compliance, yes, absolutely, including an elevator. The initial design concept that this particular firm had, which does not mean it would be the one that would win the bid once we go out for a request for proposals, would be to put an addition on the exterior of the building, which would have an elevator that would go from ground floor, which would be ground floor as far as ground level goes outside, down to the basement, up to the first floor, and up to the second floor. So it would be a 4-stop elevator, even though there are 3 floors. Also, within that enclosure, which they would visualize as matching the exterior of the building, there would also be, that would be the main entrance to the building, parking in the rear, and you would also have stair access there. You would also have brand new ADA compliant bathrooms in that area. So it would be more than just a column that has an elevator. It would be your new entrance that would deal with handicap bathrooms and so forth. Again, not saying that's the only way to design it, but that's the concept that's been brought out to this point. And the estimate to do complete ADA accessibility and bring it up to code, again, with just doing one walkthrough and not having done design yet, was approximately $250,000, $300,000 just to do the code work. And you're right, there does need to be a kitchen there, there does need to be offices. The council has said that they want space for artwork. The council, for people to go in and work on their art. They do want an area, a recreation area, where they can go in and work on yoga, that type of thing. They currently come here. But having designed the rear of the building that way, they also saw that one of the stairways in the front could be removed and the interior of the building, not the exterior, which would create some room there. Not saying that there's going to be all the room in the world there, but that's the ground that's been covered in a relatively short period of time. Thank you.
Still under discussion, ma'am.
I'm Samantha Gussie at 120 Haskell Ave, and I'm chair of the Parks and Rec Committee. I just wanted to talk about Parks and Rec's interest in this building. We have looked at it. We're not in line for grants like they are. The building plus a garage, the lot is not big enough to work for that. Also, we don't have enough money in our building budget to bring the building up to code and build the garage that we need. So I would encourage you to vote for this article. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under the article?
The Council on Aging has unanimously endorsed this request. So this came from the Council on Aging for a senior center, so this wasn't from the Board of Selectmen, this was from the Council on Aging. And they looked at the space and are interested in doing it. So just for clarification as to where this article originated, it was from the Council on Aging.
Ma'am.
Claire Agnetti, 131 South
Claire.
Main Street. I'm not.
Right into it. Speak right into the microphone.
Claire Agnetti, 131 South Main Street, Clinton.
Claire. Speak closer to the microphone, Claire.
Claire Agnetti, 131 South Main Street, Clinton, Mass. Chairman of the Clinton Council on Aging, I represent the members of my council, Rose Pasquale, Catherine Murphy, James Gibbon, and Father Thomas Walsh. We have searched for almost 3 years for a new center. We have gone everywhere. We have no money. So the town is giving us a building. That's the beginning of our building. We aren't going to just leave 4 rooms for the people. If the place progresses, which we know it will, because it's going to be a work of the arts, you wait and see. It's going to be something the Clinton people will be very, very proud of. We can add on. I have searched, and the members of my council, we've gone other places and compared. In the state of Massachusetts, as far as we know, my facts may be a little wrong on this, it's only 2 towns in the Central Mass area that have a storefront senior center. We have outgrown ourselves. We have to go to the town hall for yoga. We have to go to the St. John's for our dances. We're spread all over. A lot of people say there's not a lot of people in the center. Well, the activities of the center are many, many. We do food, Meals on Wheels. We help with fuel assistance. We help the elderly. We have outreach workers. These things aren't seen in the little area we have. We work hard. We are a multi-service center working under very, very adverse conditions. And the people of Clinton, the elderly, deserve something to be very proud of. We're happy to take an old building and do it over. We're not asking millions of dollars to build a new school, or I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. But I thank every one of you for your interest, and I thank my seniors for coming out tonight, because it's a chore for us. Thank you.
Would anybody like to follow that? Motion to move the question. Is there a second to that motion? There is. All in favor of moving the question indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We'll vote on Article 3 right now. This article bears the approval of the Finance Committee. All in favor of Article 3 as written in the warrant indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article number 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,501.76 and transfer it from the ambulance enterprise fund retained earnings, the sum of $4,565.07, said sums to be fund the second year of the 3-year negotiated agreement beginning July 1, 2002 between the town of Clinton through the Board of Selectmen and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3189, having been negotiated in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 150E, as amended.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 4 has been made and seconded, dealing with the second year of a raise for the fire department. Under questions, comments, or discussion, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I vote to amend Article 4 to transfer from the ambulance enterprise fund the amount of $5,456.02.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
There's motion to amend Article 4 by changing the dollar amount from $4,567 to $5,456.02. Done through a math error. It's now being corrected now. Any questions, comments, or discussion on the proposed amendment? There being none. All in favor of the amendment to Article 4 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment passes unanimously. Now we have Article 4 as amended with a sum of $5,456.02. Any questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow the sum of $300,000, said sum to be used by the fire department for the purchase of a new fire engine.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 5 has been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $300,000 to be used by the fire department for the purchase of a new fire truck. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 5? This article bears the approval of the Finance Committee. Seeing none. Take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article... I'm sorry, one thing I should mention, that this is a borrowing article and requires a 2/3 vote by state law for passage. All in favor of Article 5 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000, said sum to be expended by Parks and Recreation Commission for the purchase of a new riding mower.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 6 has been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $9,000 for Parks and Recreations for a purchase of a new riding mower. This article is on your warrant by citizens petition and bears the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article number 7.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow the sum of $29,000, said sum to be used by the police department for a purchase of a new police cruiser.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 7 have been made and seconded, dealing with borrowing the sum of $29,000 for the police department to purchase a new police cruiser. Finance Committee approved article, a borrowing article requiring a 2/3 vote for passage. Any questions, comments, or discussion under Article 7? There being none. All in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, motion to amend Article 8 to the end of the warrant.
Move. Mr. Moderator, I second that motion to move that article to the end of the warrant.
Is there a motion to move Article 8 till the end of the warrant? In terms of explanation, Article 8 is a Finance Committee disapproved article. It requires a ballot vote. It is the intention of your moderator to move this article, if you approve, to the end of the warrant. Then you may vote on it and go home and watch the results on TV, rather than stay here all night and wait for the count. That's the intent of moving this article. Any questions, comments, or discussion on that? Sir. But this is on tabling now. I'm moving to the end, not the article itself. Okay.
Just one point of clarification. Article 13 is based on, would be changed based on this article if it passed or didn't pass. You know? Article 13 can't pass, and if this passed later, Article 13 would be out of balance. You know what I mean? I think this should come before Article 13 is what I'm saying.
Well, you want to move it after Article 12?
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Moderator, I remove my motion to move Article 8.
I'll remove my second, Mr.
Okay,
Moderator.
article number, the motion to move the article has been withdrawn. Now we're under a new motion at the moment. To move it to after Article 12.
Yes. Motion to move Article 8 to after Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Motion is now made to vote on Article 8 after Article 12, so that Article 13 will still be in balance. Any questions on that? All in favor of moving Article 8 to in back of Article 12, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Okay. Article number 9. The motion is passed.
Mr. Moderator, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the Water and Sewer Prize Enterprise Fund the sum of $300.99, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for the purpose of paying the following unpaid bill. Massachusetts Electric Company.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Article number 9 have been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $300.99. This is an unpaid bill, and a special town meeting requires a 9/10 vote for passage. It is Finance Committee approved. Let's try this first. All in favor of Article 9, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article number 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund the sum of $840, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for the purpose of paying the following unpaid bill. Weston and Sampson, Inc.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Article number 10 have been made and seconded, also an unpaid bill requiring a 9/10 vote for passage, $840. Finance Committee approved. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article number 11.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,342, said sum to be expended by the Department of Public Works for costs associated with removing dead and dangerous trees and/or limbs along public roads and from Woodlawn Cemetery.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Article number 11, dealing with $13,342 to be expended by the Department of Public Works for removing dead and dangerous trees and limbs within the public roadways from Woodlawn Cemetery. This article is Finance Committee approved. Any questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 11 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to borrow the sum of $48,000, said sum to be expended through Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund for the cost associated with the design and construction to rehabilitate the Grove Street Sewer Pumping Station.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Article number 12, we're doing the sum of $48,000 for costs associated with the design and construction of to rehabilitate the Grove Street sewer pumping station. This article is a borrowing article, requires a 2/3 vote for passage. It is approved by your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under the article? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor of Article 12 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $32,000, said sum to be used to rehire 2 full-time police dispatchers.
Can I get the tellers in back, Nib, to step forward?
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Article under number 8 being made and seconded. dealing with a sum of $32,000 to be used to rehire 2 full-time police dispatchers for the police department. This article is Finance Committee disapproved, therefore requiring the ballot vote. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 8? Sir.
Good evening. I'm Mark Loviger, 13 Long Edge Road, and I'm the police chief here in town. The police department is asking for $32,000 to rehire 2 dispatchers that were laid off approximately 15 months ago. I'd like you to keep in mind, please, that we lost 2 patrolmen over the past couple of years through attrition, and with the dispatchers, they work at a cost of 50% of what a police officer takes to work that desk. Since we've lost the staffing, we've had to cut programs. Our overtime has been increased dramatically, and the officers are now required to work the desk, and we're at minimum staffing during our busiest times, during the summertime, holidays, weekends, because of the staffing reduction. The Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to put this on the warrant and approved it, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
You all right, Nib? Nib, you got the ballots out, or? Nib? Let's get everything out. Once you get the tellers out front. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 8? In the back, ma'am.
We need dispatchers, unless somebody wants to volunteer. And I don't hear any answers. They need them. Somebody has to answer the phones. Excuse me. And if they're not going to pay them, then somebody should volunteer their time. But somebody's going to answer the phones. How would you like to call the police station and not get an answer? It wouldn't be very acceptable, I don't think. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. James Doherty, Chase Street. This seems to be a sensible proposal. I'd like to hear from the FinCom as to why they've disapproved it.
Okay.
That's what we're here for. Our disapproval to this article centers around not so much that there's not a need. We understand there's a need. The chief has done a fine job, and we understand that he's short-staffed. Some money became available recently, and you know, the budget that was approved in June was a fiscally sound budget, and a lot of pain was endured by a lot of departments to get through, and a lot of people lost personnel. We just seen this as, we're only less than 6 months into the year, and we're going to be funding a couple of positions that the selectmen themselves, although they gave a final approval, offered a lot of hesitation because this is going to potentially be a very short 6-month to 8-month job for these 2 folks. We understand there's a need. We came in with a fiscally sound budget. We wanted to look at this again for fiscal year 06, and that's where the decision centers around. It's not that there's not a need. There's a lot of needs in this town, and we just couldn't support it at this time. Thank you.
Any further discussion under Article 8? There being none. Mr. Bailey?
Brendan Bailey, 21 James Street, Clinton, a member of the Finance Committee. I want to reiterate some of the things John said. question is, we do know the need. We know the need of every department in this community. When the budgets were submitted for this fiscal period, they were approved or disapproved by the superiors of those departments. We voted last year to put a budget in on those recommendations. Now, is money available? Now, the understanding is no one wants to see anybody lose their jobs. These people have been out of work, granted. The police department needs dispatchers, granted. But the fact is, these positions were funded through grants. The grants are no longer available. They now need to be paid out of local resources. As a result, this now is not $32,000 for the remainder of this year. Those positions will be made available again next year, and the same department heads and the same people will have to vote on whether to disapprove or approve them. You understand, unemployment is paid for by the local tax, by the community. So if people are laid off, they're getting paid. You rehire these people, they get laid off, you still have to pay them. And it has nothing to do with that. We are here to educate and to inform people as to what money is available, where it comes from, and what we can afford to spend. I don't personally care one way or the other if they return, but I think our job is to let you know where this money comes from, how it's spent, and what is down the road in the future. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion under the article? Are we ready on each side here? Lenny, we're all set on this side? All set on that side, ladies? Nib? Okay. You're going to vote by ballot, yes or no. Yes is in favor of the expenditure, no is against it. Precincts 1 and 2 should line up and go down on this side here. Precincts 3 and 4 on that side there.
Yeah, just about.
What I'd like to see.
The vote is the difference of 1
All right.
How many we want? 4?
Hi, Julie. How are you, Mrs. Wonderful.
We're going to count them out.
Huh?
Oh, you need 4? You need 1 for each precinct?
I'm doing 1 for precinct 1 and 2 and 1 for precinct 3 and 4. couldn't help it. 11 years with Niven listening to bellyache, I had to leave.
Okay. You need this? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the vote on Article 8 is 159 yes votes and 49 no votes, and Article 8 is passed. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. You got to lower it down. Are they going to do it or are you going to do it? All right. Put it in motion first. Article number 13. Article number 13, dealing with the sum of $322,000 to be transferred to the stabilization fund. Motion made to amend Article 13 to change the sum to $290,000, the difference being the article you just approved that the Finance Committee had disapproved. So now that same sum amount is to be lowering the amount going into the stabilization fund. Questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to the article? There being none, sir?
Just for information purposes, there was some money that's been certified, additional growth in some lottery surplus money that was not available at the last town meeting. That's why we have it now. This money is going to be put into an account for the town's use. And if we didn't do this now, it would close out next year in free cash. It wouldn't be available to sometime later. So that's the reason for this action.
Any further discussion under the amendment to the article? There being none, we're voting on the amendment at this time to lower the figure to $290,000. All in favor of the amendment to lower the article, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Okay, Article 13 is now amended to reflect a figure of $290,000. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? The article is passed.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second motion, Mr.
All in
Moderator.
favor of adjourning? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.